You ready?
Let's get it, bro.
All right. Shit, we're in person. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the L7C Podcast NFL Edition. Today, we have a in-person podcast with the NFL expert aficionado, Justin Akindele. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, man. It's good to see you in person. Good to see your face.
It's
been a long 2 weeks, but it's good seeing you.
Yeah, you're going to be able to see my reactions to some of these NFL hot takes that you give out. But not... Thanksgiving's tomorrow, so there's no way we couldn't do a podcast without talking about the Thanksgiving games tomorrow. Also, we're going to recap some big games that happened over the weekend. We're going to have the typical Aki big game alert, what games you should be betting on, things like that. We're just going to talk NFL. Thanksgiving's the NFL's holiday, so let's get right into it. Justin, you wanted to hit on two games last week, the Ravens versus the Titans.
Yeah, I want to talk about that game because that was a really big game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, both teams really needed to win that game. Titans are fighting to win their division. Ravens are honestly fighting to just stay in the playoffs at this point, honestly. Mm-hmm. So it was a real big game. Win the overtime. Ravens were playing well defensively throughout the game. Just, you know what Derrick Henry do. He just wears you down.
Yeah, and they went into overtime, and Derrick Henry had the walk-off touchdown run that put Tennessee to 7-3 and Baltimore to 6-4. So I want to talk more about Baltimore. They're 6-4 right now. Are they going to make the playoffs? Because it's them, Cleveland. You got teams like Oakland, because they're not going to win the division because Pittsburgh has that basically locked. So are they making the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they're going to make the playoffs. They do have the easiest remaining schedule left. Mm-hmm. So after they play the Steelers,
which is a loss,
which was supposed to be tomorrow, but now it's Thursday. We're going to preview that game. Mm-hmm. But after that, they play the Cowboys next Thursday at Cleveland, Jacksonville, the New York Giants, and then the Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals. I still think they're going to be a playoff team because after Cleveland, I see 3 wins.
Okay.
And then, and then we'll talk about this game later, but the game against the Steelers later. But yeah, I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but their offense is concerning. Lamar Jackson is starting to get concerning right now. He threw another interception. The offense wasn't moving smoothly on Sunday, and it's starting to become an issue.
Yeah, and the Ravens have one of the top 2 rushing attacks, but they also have one of the worst 2 passing attacks. And I don't think Lamar's thrown for over 200 yards this year. And it looks like the only person he can throw to is the tight end Mark Andrews. Like Hollywood, Marquise Brown's not getting the ball. Snead. What do you think the regression is? Like, how did it get to this point? Because this was one of the favorites to potentially get out of the AFC, and now they're fighting for their playoff lives.
Yeah, I think they are missing some offensive pieces right now. They're missing Ryan Stanley, their offensive tackle. They're blocking tight end Nick Boyle, who, from the real experts, say that he helps with that running game and helps with the play action a little bit, so he is a big loss. I just think mostly these NFL defenses are, packing in the box, taking away the play action and the inside throws and trying to make the throw outside. And he's just not able to hit it. He also really doesn't have a very good outside threat either. I know Hollywood Brown's out there. He takes it over the top. They don't really have anyone that can, run the deep post down the middle and those type of routes like that. So I think that has a lot to do with personnel, and it's also defenses are, packing it in. Kind of like Giannis in the NBA, teams pack in the middle and make sure Giannis is either, passing up or taking the jumper. I think it's the same thing with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Ravens more when we preview that Steelers game. Let's go to this other big game that you wanted to hit on. The Green Bay Packers versus the Indianapolis Colts. That game also went into overtime, which, me personally, I was actually disgusted by the end of that game because the Colts had about 6 or 7 holding penalties in a row where they could have easily won the game, but they got the field goal, and then they gave Aaron Rodgers time. Boom, 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 field goal. Then they end up winning in OT.
Ridiculous.
What? Packers now fall to 7-3. Colts go to 7-3. Were you more impressed with the Colts finding a way to win, or more disgusted about how they shouldn't even put themselves in that situation? Because I don't even think this is about the Packers. I think it's more about the Colts.
I think it was about the Packers.
Okay.
I mean, the Packers were up 28 to 7 at halftime, and then they ended up losing the game 34-31. Like, that can't happen.
That's true.
Like, when you have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and you're supposed to be a NFC contender like the Green Bay Packers are, you can't go up 28-7 at halftime and then end up losing the game. That's just absolutely unacceptable. They let Phillip Rivers play decent against some 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. It seems like when it comes down to it, when the Packers play a physical team, or like any of the good teams, they just don't show up, and it's starting to become a problem.
Yeah, and even props to Indianapolis, though, because besides the Steelers, they have one of the top 5 defenses in the league. It wasn't the top defense at a point in time. Like, they can play. And Phillip Rivers, if the man only throws 1 pick, that's a good day.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Aaron also had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. You brought up the thing that this game they shouldn't have lost. They got smacked by the Bucs. And just 2 weeks ago, they lost to Dalvin Cook.
Yes, they lost.
Because he had 4 touchdowns on him?
That was a game Dalvin Cook went absolutely stupid. That's when he went crazy. Like I said, another physical running team. They just punched him in the mouth.
And even last year, Green Bay, was it 14-2 or 13-3 they finished last year?
They were 13-3.
And no one had them even going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because we watched that, at first we watched that Sunday night game when they played the 49ers. The 49ers destroyed them, and then they played them again in the playoffs, and you just knew. By the time they played that playoff game, you just knew, Green Bay couldn't do shit with the 49ers.
And Green Bay was one of those teams, too, we were watching that we thought during the trade deadline they were going to make a move to potentially get another wide receiver to go opposite of Devontae Adams, but they did not. So going forward, I think they're going to win the NFC North because Chicago, which started great, their offense is just bad. So they're going to get in that playoff spot regardless. But when you have Green Bay, the 3 NFC West teams, the Saints, potentially the Bucs too. I think the Bucs are going to make the playoffs. We'll see. And we don't have to talk about the NFC East winner because they're going to be a non-factor. Can Green Bay, can they make at least the NFC Championship game? I mean, they have one of the top 3 best quarterbacks in the league, and I would think that's the standard to at least make it to the NFC East Championship game.
I mean, they definitely can, but I have a hard time picking Green Bay if they run to New Orleans, even though I've been kind of rough on the Saints. I mean, last week with Taysom Hill, I mean, that defense came to play. They were physical, and I know the Titans aren't very good, but they shut them down. Mm-hmm. Seahawks are still formidable. Their defense played well in the Arizona game that they won on Thursday night. So if that defense keeps coming along, I don't see Green Bay beating them. I think they might be able to beat Tampa if it comes down to it again.
I think they have that rematch. They'll beat Tampa.
Yeah, they end up playing them again. But, yeah, I don't know. They got to do something.
Yeah, so we're going to have to wait and see on that. But tomorrow, as we said, is Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is known for turkey and football. And there are supposed to be 3 games on Thanksgiving. But today, as of recording, one of the games got moved back. It was the Steelers-Ravens, the main event of the day. That was supposed to be the night game, got pushed back to Sunday because 7 Ravens players tested positive for COVID. And a lot of Steelers were not happy. Juju Smith-Schuster talked about it. Claypool, Ebron, they all were mad that they lost their bye week because of COVID, and they wanted to play on Thanksgiving and lost that. First, do you think the NFL did the right thing in pushing it back?
I think the NFL did the right thing pushing it back. I think their thing was they didn't want Baltimore. They didn't want to endanger the Steelers playing that game on Thursday because more of the Baltimore players probably would have had COVID. It would have been more contagious if they probably played it on Thursday. So I don't really have a problem with them moving it to Sunday. I do personally have a problem because that was a game I was looking forward to tomorrow. But I mean, no harm, no foul. I mean,
yeah, and the game's still going to be Sunday at 1:15, I think they said.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about these two games that are happening, then we'll preview that Steelers-Ravens game. So the 12:30 game is the Texans versus the Lions. The Lions are always on Thanksgiving. That's just the way it works. And the 4:30 game is the other team that's always on Thanksgiving, Washington and Dallas. The Texans and Lions, there's really nothing that they're playing for, except for the turkey. Do they get the turkey leg or whatever during that game?
Man, I didn't even write down notes for that. just take, if you're going to bet on that game, I'm leaning towards the Lions, but both teams suck. Both defenses aren't good, so I can see Deshaun Watson getting busy.
Aaron Rodgers did say that Matt Stafford is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in probably this decade.
Yeah, I mean, shit, the Lions didn't score last week.
Yeah, no, they did not.
They did not score against Carolina last week. Carolina was playing P.J. Walker, XFL, Houston Roughnecks,
and he won.
That's what they're calling
and they won.
So I know the Lions aren't going to go scoreless again. They're not going to get shut out again.
Are there any interesting bets that happened during Thanksgiving with NFL? Like, I don't know, like who's going to be the turkey whatever MVP, things like that? Do they have like weird bets like that on Thanksgiving? Because I know they give a turkey leg to like the best player of the game.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I'm just betting up on spreads and the typical game props that are typically there, but I'm pretty sure if I look there, it's probably a Thanksgiving prop. But for that first game, I'm going to pick the Lions. I think the Lions are going to win that game. I'm going to throw my money on them. They're getting 3 points at home.
They're at home.
Their traditional spot. First game of the day on Thanksgiving. So let's see if they can do it.
Not the Lions. 4:30 game. Washington versus Dallas. Both teams in the NFC East. This past Sunday, Dallas actually beat the Vikings, and the Eagles lost to the Browns. So you have already alluded, even though both this NFC least, they're bad, but this is a big game for the division.
Whoever wins this game tomorrow is going to be the front runner to win the division.
Wow.
To win the division. Let me tell you the schedules that are coming up for the teams that I think are players in the NFC. The NFC East. I'm not going to say the Giants schedule because I don't think they're going to win. So, the Cowboys after Sunday, they have Baltimore next Thursday, a Joe Burrow Cincinnati Bengals, a IR San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football, Philly, and then the Giants as the last game. The football team has the Steelers next week, the 49ers in 2 weeks, the Seahawks, Panthers, and then they end the season with Philly. And then the Eagles, they play Seattle on Monday.
Loss.
Green Bay the week after that.
Loss.
At Lambeau.
Loss.
New Orleans at home.
Loss.
The Arizona Cardinals.
Loss.
Dallas and Washington to end the season.
No.
So I'm not seeing a win for the Eagles until
potentially Dallas.
Washington. Potential Dallas Washington. So whoever wins this game will be in the driver's seat to win the division.
Which I think is absurd because with Washington now Alex Smith is starting and Andy Dalton's back for Dallas. So what's the final record? It could be 6-9 NFC East champ, or even less than that.
And then you can win this division with 6 wins, 6-10.
Wow. So who do you have in this game? Washington Chase Young can get to the quarterback now. They got a little defense.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Dallas. Washington won the first game. It was 25-3. That was Andy Dalton's first start, I believe, and that was the game they got knocked out. They gave him a concussion. So I think the Cowboys are going to be up to play. Like I said, both these teams aren't really very good. Total DVOA for the Cowboys is 27th. The total DVOA for Washington's 21st. Both are bottom 10 offenses. Washington has the 6th ranked defense on DVOA. They did beat the Bengals last week after Joe Burrow tore up everything.
Yep.
Alex Smith is currently starting, 68%, 918 yards, 4 interceptions, 2 starts, 4 games. Andy Dalton starting for the Cowboys, 63%, 655 yards, 4 interceptions, 5 games, 3 starts. I forgot to put his touchdowns down here. But yeah, the Cowboys rushed for 175 yards against the Vikings last week. So if they can get a running game going again, I think the Cowboys can get it done.
I agree. I think the Cowboys should get this done, but it's the fact that it's the Cowboys. And now all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but now these games really matter, NFC East matchup. And they always just fight in this national television on Thanksgiving. It's almost a perfect storm for them to lose so that they can just get torn to shreds on Friday by all the people. But if they win, oh man, it's going to be a good day in Jerry world. So what's the spread on that game?
Cowboys are 3-point favorite at home.
Okay. I could take it. I would take it personally. But hey, the main event game that got rescheduled, Steelers and Ravens, that game is going to be Sunday. The Steelers are still undefeated, and we've talked about the Ravens. They're 6-4 right now. That game's huge.
Big.
If the Ravens lose, they're 6-5, and I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. You have their schedule up on your computer right now, and I just want to go through if the Steelers beat the Ravens. So if this is a loss, their next remaining games compared to other people who are fighting for that final spot, because they're not going to win the division if they lose this game. That's out, so they have to be a wild card.
Yeah. After this Steelers game, their remaining schedule is Dallas next week, Thursday night, at Cleveland, and then it's Jacksonville, Giants, and then Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals. So, like I said, I think the Ravens are in a good spot if they can win this game on Sunday, and also win next week. Not next week, but in 2 weeks against Cleveland. If they can split those games, I think they're going to win the rest of their games this season because they got Dallas, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Giants aren't very good, and the Bengals. So they've got to get past this week.
So I wrote this down when we were talking about it before recording because I had win-loss. So this game, the Steelers, I think, now that they sound mad, I think the Steelers are about to thrash them. That's just me. And then the next game, who was the next game? I had them winning that next game after.
Dallas.
That's a win. And then skip Cleveland because I put half because I just put a star because that's a super big game.
Yeah.
And then who was after Cleveland?
It's Jacksonville at home.
They'll win that.
The Giants at home.
They'll win that.
At the Bengals.
And they'll win that. It's really this Cleveland game that I think is after the Steelers game. This is a big. It's going to decide if they get in the playoffs or not. Just bottom none because both of them are in the AFC North. Both are fighting for wild cards. There's other teams out there. So I feel like whoever wins that game is getting in the playoffs.
Yeah, that game in 2 weeks is definitely going to be. It's going to be for a wild card.
Yeah.
It will be for a wild card.
And you want me to pull up the Raiders schedule? I do have the Raiders schedule up. This Sunday, the Raiders play the Falcons. That should be a win. And then the next week, they play the Jets. That should be a win. On 12-13, Raiders Colts. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
For playoff positioning. And then after the Colts game, they play the Chargers. And then they play the Dolphins.
It's a big game.
And then they end the year Broncos. Besides the Colts and the Dolphins, nope, I can't even say that because Justin Herbert, they can play. So the Chargers might be able to get him, but that Colts game 2 weeks from now, huge for both of them. They got to win too. I mean, this AFC wild card is you got the Raiders, you got the Browns, you got the Ravens.
And then the Colts and the Titans. Colts and Titans play this weekend.
Yeah, one of them is going to win the division. The other one's going to be a wild card. The AFC is a lot more competitive, I think, that people thought it was going to be going into the year. Because usually you think about the NFC, but the AFC right now, maybe because Cleveland's actually 7-3. Do you have Cleveland's schedule up by chance?
No, but I can pull it up real quick. Let's see what Cleveland.
I know this Sunday they play Jacksonville, and they need to win that game. They'll be 8-3 if they win that.
Yeah, so Cleveland has Jacksonville this week.
That's a win. Oh, well, it should be.
Titans next week.
That's big.
Baltimore in 2 weeks. Monday Night Football.
That's so boy. So it goes Titans then.
And then they got the at both New York teams, at the Giants and at the Jets, and then they end with the Steelers at home.
So they have 2 big games back to back. Last time they played Baltimore, first game of the year, they got destroyed.
Yes, they did. That was 38-6.
Yeah, and the Titans, I don't know if they're going to be able to handle Derrick Henry just running down their throat. So it's
looking
big.
at Cleveland's schedule, all their losses, they have lost to Baltimore this year, Pittsburgh, and Las Vegas.
So they've lost to all good teams.
Yeah, they lost to all good teams, and then if it comes down to, they end up with the same record as the Vegas Raiders. Vegas is getting that tiebreaker.
But they have a win against the Colts.
Yes, they do.
And that'll be big.
Yeah, that's going to be big. But I should have previewed that Colts-Titans game because that is a huge game. The winner of that game is going to win the South.
And that is this week?
Yeah, I have the
Okay, let's talk about it. Shoot.
Where's their schedule at? I have there. All right, so here's the Colts schedule. The Colts remaining schedule. They got the Titans this week.
Toss up.
At Houston next week.
Win.
At Vegas in 2 weeks.
Toss up.
Then Houston again.
Win.
At Pittsburgh, and then Jacksonville ending off the season.
The Raiders. I'm just really high on the Raiders right now because they should be 2-0 against Kansas City.
Yeah, and then the Titans, they have it a little easier. They have Indy this week, Cleveland next week, Jacksonville, Detroit, Green Bay, and Houston. So I think the Titans are going to end up winning that division because I got them winning. I got them winning this week, and then we'll see next week. And then I think they're going to win Jacksonville, Detroit. I think they're going to beat Green Bay too. I think they're going to beat Green Bay. Yeah. That's a matchup. That's a bad matchup for Green Bay.
So there's some really, it's Thanksgiving week obviously, but there's some really big games this week with, especially in the AFC. And there's one game that's actually pretty big that I really didn't want to talk about because this team's actually been really pissing me off. But it's just too big to ignore. The 4:25 game is the Chiefs and the Bucs. And we have to talk about a game where you have Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady. Justin, a couple weeks ago on this podcast, you were talking about the Bucs when we announced to the world, because it was when we were recording, that they got AB and talked about them going to the Super Bowl. Since then, they've been trash.
Yes, they have.
So, A, what's wrong with the Bucs? B, are they about to get blown out of the building by the Chiefs on Sunday? Because the Chiefs have only lost once.
Man, Tom Brady is just looking older by the week.
1-3 on primetime games this year.
Yeah, 1-3. I guess the media is right. I guess he really needs to take a nap throughout the day for these damn games. I don't know what their issue is. I think it just might be a coaching and quarterback just not on the same page. I know Bruce Arians likes to chuck the ball deep, but
And he goes at him on social media and ESPN calls out Tom Brady, and Brady ain't used to that.
Yeah, we know Tom Brady is literally Mr. Dink and Dunk. So I was watching that game on Monday, and it was just disgusting. Just literally watching that game go down. The Rams were getting pressure on them with only 4 guys, and when you get pressure with just the defensive line, like Brady's done for.
Yeah.
So I don't think they run the ball effectively. But they have 2 good running backs. I just don't get it with them.
But they should have won that game on Monday. The Rams scored. We were like, 2-minute drill Tom Brady. This is easy. And he did a couple. And then I don't know what the hell that pass was that got intercepted because that guy, I haven't blanked on his name, and I apologize because he's actually from Ohio State, picked off Brady twice that game. And that was just a bad throw. And it's just like, what are we doing here? Some people say he's trying to force it to AB. I don't think that's the case.
No, I don't think he's forcing
but
AB.
Their running game is just bad. And if their defense isn't getting turnovers, and they actually have to play some more defense, because their defense, which after the Green Bay game we were all talking was a top 3 defense, they got cooked, on Monday by the Rams receivers. It wasn't even funny. So I think they were blowing smoke. But if they continue losing or lose a couple games, they're not going to win the NFC South, and they might.
Well, they're not winning the NFC South.
They're not winning. They got swept by the Saints.
The Saints swept them, so that's not even in the cards at this point. I got the playoff picture pull up right now.
Okay.
They're currently the 6th seed, so they have the second wild card. Wait, hold on. Am I reading this right? Yeah, so they got the second. They're currently sliding in. That's the second wild card spot right now. Seattle is currently ahead of them right now. So I think that second place of the NFC West is probably going to get the fifth spot. So they're pretty much in content. They're pretty much fighting with the Seahawks and the Rams. They just lost to the Rams.
What's the Buccaneers' rest of their schedule?
The Bucs, the rest of their schedule?
Yeah, we know they're playing the Chiefs. They might get blown out. I'm feeling a big blowout.
Let me pull up the. Oh shit, the Bucs have a pretty easy schedule.
Okay, well that's good.
They're gonna make the playoffs. Yeah, the Bucs can get past Kansas City this week. They got a bye next week, and then Minnesota, Atlanta twice, and then Detroit in between Atlanta twice. So
that should be a very easy. Well, Minnesota is still technically in a wild card contention if they can win some games.
That's going to be a tough game. They're going to be trying in that game, but
because Dalvin Cook's going to be coming. But you think the Bucs will still make the playoffs? I agree.
Yeah, they're honestly a lot. And
then, if they lose to Minnesota though, and they lose this game,
these teams should be shooting to be the last on wild card team. Because if you're the last wild card team, you're gonna play the NFC East winner. So
wow,
that's gonna be an easy win.
Oh my god!
So this might be a blessing in disguise for the Bucs not winning the division.
That's
they get a bye either way.
That's wow. That's crazy. And yeah, there's not those are the biggest games going on this week. I'm just going through it. Bears and Packers, they're the Sunday night game. Bears offense is just terrible.
Packers probably not.
They're going to blow them out.
When Packers are typically very good when they aren't embarrassed on national TV.
That is true.
So I'll take the Packers in that game. It's a really high number though. I think the spread's 8.
What about the Monday night game? Seahawks Eagles.
What's the line on that? I don't see the Seahawks. I don't see the Eagles winning that game at all. But
so what's happening, man? With Carson Wentz leads the league, and I think not just interceptions but turnovers.
I know you watched that whole Browns game against the Eagles.
I watched the whole game.
You tell me what happened in that game because I was watching Red Zone. Experience. Man, it's just awful. Like I have no words to defend that man right now. It's just.
Did you know
he's just
that
playing like complete dog shit?
Well, Cleveland didn't even have their best player, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I know Myles Garrett.
He had COVID, and they were able to get pressure with 4. He threw 2 picks, and they were just getting to him. It was just bad. Yeah, Baker Mayfield had 0 passing touchdowns. He didn't have any picks, I believe, but he wasn't like spectacular. Nick Chubb was going crazy, and they had a chance to win, but he threw a pick, and when I watch them play, it's just like, what is going on with them? I know they have a whole bunch of injuries, which is fair, but it's rough because this is a guy in 2018. He would have won MVP. So from that to then coming back here, it's just like, and he hasn't even been hurt this year. Usually Carson Wentz gets hurt around here, but now he's been playing the whole year. And there's too many picks. He's averaging like 2 picks a game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care how shitty your team is, like, you can't be forcing, like, he's forcing so much that he's the problem at this point. Like, I think at this point, you just gotta play the game, do what the defense gives you. If you go down losing, you go down losing. Like,
yeah, I'm almost at the point, too, where I don't know how many draft picks the Eagles have next year, but they really need to draft some linemen, offensive defense, some weapons. But
Eagles can't move off Carson. They're really stuck with him.
Oh no, they're stuck. They paid him already.
Yeah, they paid him. They're stuck.
He's stuck. I don't think Jalen Hurts is ready to even. I mean, I haven't seen him throw a pass. The games I've just seen him do Wildcat. But they're stuck. They paid him too much, and somewhere, even though I think it's wrong. Jerry Jones might be laughing like, hey, you paid your guy too early. Y'all stuck with him, and if this is the way he continues to go, that stinks. But Doug Peterson, I mean, he has a leash. He got a Super Bowl in these past couple of years. They're not going to fire him anytime soon, so I would think not.
I don't know.
But if they fire him, he's just fired as a scapegoat.
Because remember, the OC for the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl was Frank Wright.
Yep.
Head coach of the Indianapolis Colts right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how the Colts have been playing. You see the Eagles. Mm-hmm. So I think Frank Wright not being there is really affecting Carson Wentz. I think that was the coach that was getting the most out of him.
Do you think his mental state's also affected, that the fact that until he wins a Super Bowl, everyone's going to say about the Nick Foles run? Because Nick Foles has a statue over there. Carson doesn't, so.
Yeah, he might need to change the scenery, honestly.
Because that will always be a reminder. Because remember, even the next year when Carson got hurt, they were ridiculous. 4-6, and Nick Foles came in, took them to the playoffs, won the game against Chicago, and was one play away from beating the Saints that playoff year too.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah, so it might just be because he's going to be. It's almost like if an NBA superstar gets drafted to, let's say, Cleveland. Like, you're always going to be in the shadow of LeBron James. That's just the way it is. Or like a person, if you got drafted to Chicago, you're always going to be Jordan statues right out there. This guy, Nick Foles, is not better than Carson Wentz, but this man has a statue because he is a Super Bowl MVP for one of the only Super Bowls that city has had in championships in forever. It's the only Super Bowl and one of their only championships in sports-wise forever. So just if you get that pressure to either he has to win one or get it or potentially leave, but who wants that contract?
Yeah, I mean, Philly is a great sports fan base. I mean, I don't like them being a Cowboys fan, but they are passionate, and they did really embrace Nick Foles. But it feel like they forgot who got him there. I know Nick Foles was leading the playoff chart and all that, but in 2018, Carson Wentz was going to be the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
He was,
But I'll ask you this: you watched football from your whole life. You didn't miss football during 2000 to 2010. Donovan McNabb played like this, his ass would have been out of town.
Oh, absolutely. when he did start playing like this, they shipped his ass to Washington.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And he got them to a Super Bowl, and they would have won. If T.O. was healthy, they would have won. He's been to multiple NFC championship games.
Yeah.
I mean, his resume is bigger than Carson's in Philly, and his ass got out of here. So that's what I was thinking about, too. This was Donovan, who was their last super big quarterback.
Carson Wentz is better than Donovan.
He is. He's better than
Donovan. That had Andy Reid, though. That definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Doug Peterson is the same class of coach as Andy Reid. But yeah, the Eagles need to do something because what they're doing is not sustainable. And it hasn't been sustainable all year.
Nope.
And they just keep doing it. And you would have thought by now he would have stopped doing it, and he still is. So
it's crazy now how now the NFC East has two big stories every Monday. How the Cowboys did and what Carson Wentz did.
Well, shit, the Cowboys haven't been a story the past couple of weeks.
That's true.
Carson Wentz is literally taking all the heat off of us. Dak Prescott broke his damn ankle. We had third-string quarterbacks. Only so much we can do. Carson Wentz, you were the number 2 pick. You are paid.
They moved up to get him.
You can't be doing this, my friend.
I mean, he is one of the top topics every Monday on First Take, Undisputed, The Herd. There's always a Carson thing now, which is wild. But man, that was all we have. Justin, you got anything else you want to talk about on this Thanksgiving edition of the Football L7C podcast? Any other big games? What's going on?
In the game, Lions tomorrow.
I wish we had more money because then I could do one of those sounds saying "Aki big game bets."
Yeah, I do like the Lions tomorrow. I don't think I want to give the Cowboys out on this podcast, so pet the bet your own. Definitely like the Titans over the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Typically with these divisional games, at least the good teams, they don't end up getting swept, and that's what I'm banking on. And then the public saw the Colts just beat Green Bay last week, so that's going to get bet up on the Colts. And the Titans are getting 3.5 at the moment, and I like that. And I also like the Chiefs giving up 3.5 against the Bucs because fuck them. So I do like the Chiefs. So they are a juggernaut. The Tampa Bay's defense can get after the quarterback a little bit, but we talking about Patrick Mahomes right now. He's on fire.
Nope.
Take him.
I agree. Well, anything else before we sign out?
That's all I got. Can't wait for tomorrow. Can't wait to watch some football, even though the games suck tomorrow.
Yeah. It's kind of salty, too, that the game is like the last game ends at like 7-something. I'm used to going 12-12 on Thanksgiving, but it is what it is. But thank you, everyone, for listening to the L7C podcast. Thank you, Justin, for being able to do this in-person one, our first in-person one. Continue to like, rate, comment, subscribe on anything that you listen to, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Radio Breaker, anything you listen to. Leave us some feedback. What else topics you want to hear us talk about in the NFL? I know a couple weeks ago we talked about we'll potentially hit our top 5 wide receivers. Justin had the idea that we should wait till the end of the season where we see a season's worth, which I agree. So we're going to do those top 5 wide receivers, top 5 running backs, top 5 quarterbacks. Later on, we still got a lot of football to go. Playoffs are going to be coming soon, and there is a lot that we talked about that some teams really might miss out. Justin, since you are in person, I will give you the final send-off.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to L7C Podcast. Have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C Podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.